Welcome to the TheEatingCast. I am Chris.
And I'm Vincent, and today we are joined by Penny Lee and Lisa Mao. Penny Lee is a executive producer and director and editor. Lisa Mao is an executive producer as well, director and writer. Both worked on award-winning documentary Through Chinatown's Eyes, April 1968, and many, many other amazing projects with the Travel Channel, National Geographic, Discovery Channel, HGTV, and many more. List goes on, but we're in the presence of two extraordinary people within the film industry. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Hello. It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure to have you guys on. And again, we just want to say thank you for just clearing just a portion of your time. To kind of like hang out with us and just have a little talk about what you guys do. And personally, I think it's amazing that what you guys are doing. With what you guys are doing. So guys, can you just Penny and Lisa, whichever you guys want to go first, totally up to you. Can you just give us a quick rundown of who you guys are, and what are you guys currently doing, and kind of like what are your hopes and ambitions, and where is that kind of like leading you guys?
Okay, I'll go first.
Awesome.
I'm Penny. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, my background is I started in the media film industry as an editor. So I'm an editor by profession. I've been editing for over 20 years. And for me, the longest time I've been working on other people's projects as a freelancer. I kind of decided I want to do projects that I'm passionate about myself. And that's how I started producing and getting stories to talk about projects that I want to share with the public. So that's my background. I was born in Hong Kong, a little bit backwards. So I'm an immigrant.
Okay.
I was born and raised in D.C. and went to University of Maryland for college, where I majored in radio, television, and film. And so this industry has always been my background. I am.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm Lisa. I've been doing TV development for a long time. It's been most of my career. I started Discovery Channel, working as a development person for the Travel Channel specifically at Discovery years ago, and then I went out to California and worked for a couple of independent production companies who produced shows for National Geographic, Discovery Channel, History Channel, HGTV, Animal Planet, all of the non-fiction channels you can think of. And I came back to DC in about 2010 to work for the Travel Channel again as an executive producer and development exec. And I've always been a writer, writing treatments to get ideas out there, to get shows on the air. Penny and I met on the last project, Through Chinatown's Eyes, 1968, April 1968.
I was very fortunate that we kind of brought our skills together and was able to produce that Through Chinatown's Eyes film, which turned out great.
Yeah.
Actually, kind of going back to Through Chinatown's Eyes. Actually, that's a really, in my eyes, it's like a really deep story to really share, right? Because though us Asian people are predominantly the Chinese, through the Chinatown's eyes, right? The Chinese people in that community, it's like we don't really hear about our side of the story, right? Like especially during that riot, where Martin Luther King died, and then that just caused a civil uproar, right? And just it was chaos all around DC and a lot of other different big cities, and just kind of the media kind of just brushes over the fact that there's other minority groups, and the main individuals that were affected by it, was the Black community, and kind of them rioting and kind of trying to protest their rights and kind of what happened, and then just kind of the white communities in a sense, with them just trying to keep everything contained in a ball, if you will. And it's just really opening to hear at least one side, another side, right? The Chinese people's side and everything like that.
Yeah, I felt that it was important to preserve that history in our time, and there's not many Chinese American stories that's told from our perspective, especially during that time as well. So it was a lot of recollection of memories that we were fortunate enough to have these people tell their stories, because I think a lot of times Chinese people are very reserved.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody want to tell their stories about their backgrounds, whether good or bad. They're just very conservative and reserved in that way. So to be able to have folks that are willing to share their stories, it's an important thing to document.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you say that, because it's like, yeah, we're a lot of us Chinese Americans, or just Asian people in general, we're very reserved to ourselves, and if nothing is affecting us directly, then it's like we won't really bat an eye. We kind of just keep to ourselves, and that just brings us to this relevant topic today, where I don't know if you guys saw, but the elderly Chinese man that got harassed and he was picking up cans in California. And things like that happen, and then the Asian community is like, oh, okay, let's rally together, let's help this guy. But let's say if it was a white guy or a black guy that was getting harassed, oh, it's not one of ours, so we won't say anything. So yeah, we'll still see that today.
It's interesting. I mean, for me, obviously I'm Chinese American, and what I really wanted to bring out in 1968 was this common theme of like middleness and otherness, and like that I think Asian Americans experience. Like, they're not African American, they're not black, they're not white, they're kind of in the middle. Like, who are they? Where are they? Does anyone even care? It's like that middle child that is kind of just sitting there and not speaking, but maybe so it's one of those things where I thought that theme was very important. And yeah, it's like, oh yeah, there's a Chinatown in downtown Washington that experienced rioting as well. Those people, and it's like, it's interesting. I thought it was very interesting, because it was clearly, obviously Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was not he's not Asian, but at the same time, people forget about the Asians. It's like, we're all here together as Americans, and how it's going to affect us too. It affects the whole bag of grapes. One grape, next grape. We're all together. So I really just wanted to bring that out, that theme, and also give the Chinese community a voice.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so you said you basically the DC Chinatown, and you guys recently worked on a project called A Tale of Three Chinatowns, right?
That's the current project. We're
working
on that
current project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then which Chinatowns were those again that you were looking at?
DC, Boston, and Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about that, or what inspired you to make that documentary?
Yeah, I mean, so after doing the 1968 film, every time we would show the film, people would ask us, what's next? And we thought, okay, well, let's figure out what's next. And the current state of Chinatowns seemed to be most relevant, because in 68, one thing that came out in the interviews of the residents at the time was that many of them fled to the suburbs. They were scared. And sure, Chinatown didn't disappear overnight. I mean, it's still there in DC, but we thought, well, it's kind of an interest, like I don't want to say gentrification, but it's like what happened afterwards. It's like the aftermath. And in looking at recent development, looking at DC, we thought, you know what? This is actually happening around the country. Let's look at a few. So we decided on DC's, Boston's, and Chicago's. Why? Because they all have a different story to tell. They all have a different population, a different trajectory, different laws, different majority populations, different geographical locations, and how they've evolved over the decades, is just very interesting. So we thought looking at these three would be a very interesting survey.
Mm-hmm. And so Chicago's Chinatown is flourishing, right? That's what you guys observed, pretty much. What do you think? Why do you think that is, specifically for Chicago?
Well, for me, I think it's because compared to the other Chinatowns, it's not downtown.
Mm.
Like that. That's the first gut feeling that I have when I think about, why are some of these other Chinatowns dying off or growing smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, we'll reveal it in the documentary.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking forward to that.
So there are many factors. Geography is one of them, purely location. There's also the people, the numbers of people. There's also neighboring people. There's businesses. There's also things that you have no control over, like a riot, right? Yeah. It was a shocking, surprising event that occurred in our history, and no Chinese person or no Chinatown resident could ever have predicted that it was going to fall on their doorstep, right? So all these different factors, but as Penny mentioned, geography
that's just one
is one element, but it's an important element because in many ways the original Chicago Chinatown used to be downtown, right in the financial district or right next to it, but they got displaced back in like 1911. Don't quote me on that, but so that original Chinatown in Chicago had been displaced over 100 years ago, and so they moved to their current location. Exactly.
Okay. But we don't give away too much because we want everyone to watch the film.
That's actually really exciting. I actually can't wait for the film. And is there a projected timeline on which it'll be coming out by any chance?
Definitely this year.
This year? Okay.
We can't give a month yet, date. Right now, we're still editing. We're in the post-production mode right now.
Okay. That's so awesome.
This spring.
Ooh, okay. All right. So yeah, that's gonna be pretty interesting. Cause like what you were saying is like how Chicago's Chinatown, was kind of like uprooted in a sense, right? And kind of like moved down to like the south end of pretty much downtown, where it sits like now kind of like the main streets on Cermak. And kind of seeing that being moved out, as well as kind of like how DC Chinatown is currently very small and kind of like very, I guess, kind of like it's transitioning to a more upbeat, like modern-esque neighborhood, as well as kind of like Boston's kind of like slowly dwindling and everything like that. It's just really, it's kind of like, I want to say it's like kind of sad that, our history in a sense is kind of like being paved over by like a new road. Well,
I mean, yes and no. I mean, the concept of Chinatown has really changed over the centuries, right, or over the last several decades. Initially they were not great places, right? They were products of segregation and racism, and really it was a place where Chinese immigrants could be safe, could feel safe, because Chinese immigrants came in the mid 1800s, right, and they looked so different, their customs were so different, food, what have you. Really, the Chinatowns were created as a place for safety for them, but also because the larger white population didn't want to see them and wanted to kill them. So there's that. And then, of course, over time, it's changing. You know what I'm saying? It's
sub-Chinatowns.
They're like sub-Chinatowns.
Yeah. Like little sects.
Yeah.
Factions. That's so interesting.
I think what doesn't help too is now like the coronavirus is there's zero business in Chinatown right now. It's like empty. It's like a wasteland. I don't know if you guys heard about that too.
Yes. That's kind of everywhere. As a matter of fact, we're hearing it. We've been hearing or reading about Chicago business is declining, and Boston as well, and in DC too.
Yeah, so, it's so sad.
Yeah, it's very sad that that's happened.
I'll give you an example. So I'm active with the CCPA in DC Chinatown, right? So usually after Chinese New Year, you have all these New Year banquets, all the associations. So in DC, so unfortunately, all the associations canceled their banquets. But, you think about the restaurants where we're supposed to be held at, well, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And I think that happened in all the other Chinatowns too, from what I.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate that it's like, it's really, I want to say like kind of, that is definitely like a big thing, right? Because like a lot of these families that, have these restaurants, right? A lot of these businesses, right? They really thrive on the community. And when the community like just gets like I want to say like a shot or like a scare, it just kind of like causes everyone to just like, okay, no, we're gonna not come here no more. We're gonna just kind of go to other places to eat or go and just hang out in other areas of the city, just because of something that's big and happening around the world, and which really hasn't hit a lot of like U.S. cities yet. It's like really sad that people are taking the initiative to like, okay, we're just gonna stop right here.
We're all praying that it's temporary, for sure. Hopefully things will turn around soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then next question is, what is your role as a Asian content creator when it comes to Asian representation in the film entertainment industry?
I guess I can only speak from what I do and my experience as filmmaker, as an editor. As an editor in DC and the metropolitan area, there's not a lot of Asian American women editors that I personally know of. So my role is always to do the best I can to give us a good reputation that people can rely on us and hire us more. Somebody that looks like me, whether it's male or female, that we have, that we are creative and we can be creative and we're good at what we do, technically and creatively. So I could just say, I try to mentor other editors and other people in our business the best I can to encourage them to don't give up. Because, what we do as freelancers can be very difficult because you're competing against all these other people who are also fighting for the same jobs. And so I always say, hone in on your skills and be the best that you can be and do a good job. And I think your work will be rewarded in the long run. So that's my advice to other women and men who are Asian Americans and who feel or who are kind of not sure about where they stand in this business. So just don't give up. Yeah.
That's really good. I like that. And kind of like, oh, sorry.
No, please go.
Okay. So so kind of like, that's really big in a sense where it's like, alone, like just like if we're just talking about like the film industry and everything like that, like there's not a whole lot of Asian representation, right, as a whole. And like, we've seen that throughout all like the award ceremonies, that happen in like Hollywood and everything like that. And to really kind of have you two here to kind of like, well, first off, with Through Chinatown's Eyes, that one like kind of put us, it was a big thing, right? It definitely opened up a voice that would not have been heard, and as well as for like other films that are out there like Crazy Rich Asians, The Last Farewell, which kind of shined a bigger lens, I would say, right, into our communities and like what we can do and what we're about. It's really giving us a little bit more of like a foothold, in the filming world. And I think that's just great, that what you guys are doing and what everyone else is trying to really accomplish now.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, there's such a diversity of voices in the world, in America and in the world, and whether it's the Asian American voice, the African American voice, Latino, Filipino, what have you, we just need to be aware that there are all these voices and they need to be heard. So for me as an Asian American creative, I mean, that's one thing that's very important to me. So in my day job, I do try to look for projects or people that maybe represent a group that we don't really see a ton of. I do try to do that as much as I can. I also try to mentor, people who come my way. And the TV and film world is tough. It is not for the faint of heart in general. It is a tough business. And so that's like a big message that I have for anyone who's going to be in this business, Asian American or not. So for me, I do feel like my role is to try to bring more voices in, however I can do that.
Mm-hmm. And we really appreciate you two for playing a huge role in paving this kind of path, because a lot of us, we still have that stigma that, oh, we need to pursue doctor, engineer, career in engineering, lawyer, things like that. So knowing big shots in the film and entertainment industry, it's encouraging. It's welcoming. So it definitely helps us pursue other things and really dig into our passions and figure stuff out in that sense. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we're actually gonna wrap this up. What last bit of advice would you like to give our listeners? It could be about life. It could be more about pursuing their passions and careers. What would you like to leave us?
Well, just like what you just said, I think that's important because, well, we both have day jobs, to be honest with you, okay? Because as filmmakers, we don't make no money. And it's very hard. So we have day jobs so we can pay the bills.
Right.
And what we do in making the documentary, that's our passion. That's our, side jobs, is our wish list. It's something that we're hoping to accomplish, but we could do both. So it's just a matter of juggling your time to make it happen. And if you always wish for something and you talk about it, but you don't do it, then it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, every one person is what you make of yourself. So, if it's something you want to do in addition to your day job, do it. Yeah, just do it.
Just do it.
Nike sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would add to what Penny just said. I would say listen. This is going to sound very out there, but listen to the world. Listen to the universe. Listen to what is coming to you. But also, you need to put things out there. So speak. So if you sit in silence, no one will know. No one's going to find you. Do you know what I mean? You need to put yourself out there, and at the same time, you need to receive and listen to the messages that are out there for you. Definitely agree with Penny in terms of, juggling a few things. If you want to try to pursue something, try it. You'll never know. I mean, I always tell interns that come to me for year-end advice or semester end advice, especially since they're in college. I tell them, if you're interested in writing, write for that student newspaper. If you're interested in film and trying to get behind a camera, borrow a camera, rent a camera, ask someone, just tell them what you want to do. And you'll be surprised. There are a lot of people that want to help you, or that, and especially at a university, it's like a little, ecosystem. You should be able to find all these kinds of things that you can try stuff out in. So I highly encourage people to do that too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
Are there any other shameless plugs or promotions you guys would like to leave for our listeners? So where could we find you guys?
Stay tuned. www.3chinatowns.com.
All right.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I thought it was the number 3. Is that the number 3? Okay. What do I know?
www.chinatowns.com.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's our shameless plug. Check out our website, and
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah, we got little pamphlets, little
ooh.
cards. Ooh, that's dope. I like that.
Mail one to us, please, so I can frame it.
That's so
We'll
cool.
mail it to you.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
So-
Thanks. It is 3 spelled out.
I like that. I like that. All right. So Vince, you want to close us out?
Yep. Okay. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Penny and Lisa, for joining us. Remember to let us know how you feel in the comments below. Leave us a review. You can find us on all platforms: Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, all things The Eating Cast. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the support.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. So for our viewers and our listeners, thank you for dining with the Eating Cast, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.